Hidden Object Guru here. So, I played the End Transmission playable beta, and I gotta say, it seems pretty solid. Obviously, I'm as far from an expert on this game as you can imagine, so take all this with as many grains of salt as you like, but the Singularity feels like a pretty fair killer. And that's coming from someone who never got a chance to play as anything but a survivor during the beta. Long story short, everyone wanted to try the Singularity, meaning that there was a long wait to get into the game as a killer, but anyone who was fine surviving could get in immediately. And since I fundamentally don't care which side of the game I was playing and I only had 4 hours to set aside, I thought this was a great chance to try out the new survivor who I exclusively played as. Sadly, I can't report too much on him as a character because my limited experience with the game suggests you only really get a good sense of a character's value once you've unlocked the top tier of all of their unique perks. And I wasn't about to go and spend all of my hard-earned blood points on a character I didn't even own. Do you get to keep the levels you already earned for the Survivor and Killer if you buy the chapter later on? Probably something I should have checked into now that I think about it. The idea of having a toolbox refill after getting a sufficient number of great skill checks is a pretty good one, but I'm garbage at hitting great skill checks, so it's not anything I'll be prioritizing in my builds going forward. That said, maybe there's a toolbox mod that embiggens the great window or slows down the needle? Another something to check into, I guess. So the big question is, what's it like running from the Singularity? And again, I've gotta go back to fair. He's pretty fast on his feet, even for a killer, which can make chases a challenge. And his ability to put glorp cameras wherever he wants it, that in turn glorp the player, is extremely effective, with one obvious downside. The person controlling the Singularity seems to actually have to shut the killer down in order to use the cameras and glorp gun. This means that anytime the killer is in a chase, the rest of the players are free to run around deactivating all of the cameras they want, without worrying about the killer glorping them and teleporting to their location. Speaking of this, one thing I wasn't super clear about. Is there a cooldown between getting glorped and the killer being able to use that glorp to teleport? Seems like there might be, but it might have just been me not paying close enough attention. The EMP is a great tool. The 3D printers recharge quickly, so I never had trouble grabbing one. It doesn't count as a tool slot, so you can hold on to your medikit or whatever while you've got it. And of course, the dome of effectiveness it offers has plenty of room for multiple characters, and wall glorps to all get hit by a single blast. I was hoping that it would temporarily blind the Singularity if used on it, but the EMPs don't seem to have that effect. A nice complication would be if the player activating an EMP to destroy a glorp while the Singularity was actually looking through it had the effect of blinding the Singularity for like 5 seconds or something like that, since it feels like the timing of that would be rare enough that it wouldn't give players a huge advantage in actual gameplay. Now, let's talk the Singularity's map, which, in my extremely new at this opinion, seems to be very weighed towards the player. The vegetation is so thick and dense that it's almost impossible to see bloodstains on the ground. Anytime I used a perk that lowered my scratch marks, I found it surprisingly easy to escape during chases. That said, the killer does have 2 pretty big advantages on the map. The trees are full of violet nodules that look suspiciously like the Singularity's glorp, which caused me to pause and second-guess myself over and over again. And the second is that the map is so cluttered and dense that despite the fact that it's an outdoor map, it's more difficult to locate the generators than on some indoor maps. Overall, gotta say that playing on the End Transmission map, the few times I managed to do it, was the highlight of this beta. Which brings me to the big question. Is it worth buying End Transmission? Up until now, I've only bought character packs connected with a source I'm fond of, Scream, Halloween, Silent Hill. So this would be my first Dead by Daylight original character that didn't come with the game. At $8 Canadian, like Freddy or the Ring Ghost, this seems like a pretty good deal. But if they want to charge $15 like Wesker or the Skull Merchant, I'm probably going to give it a pass and stick with Michael and Heather. I've been the Hidden Object Guru, a guy who's slowly learning about Dead by Daylight so that he can be ready to make videos about a new narrative adventure by Supermassive Games that's coming out at some point in the next 2 or 3 years. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, I'll see you back here for the next thing, but until then, au revoir.